consider Christology from above, we have some difficulty. And then in this connection, the Gospel according to St. John, the writer of the Gospel according to St. John, he claims the pre-existence of Christ. He claims we have next to the Bible Apostolic Creed, Nicene Creed, and many other creeds that are mostly the statements are drawn from the Bible. The Nicene Creed affirms the pre-existence of Jesus Christ. He was begotten of the Father before all worlds. In other words, the doctrine clearly implies that originally Christ was not like us, that He came to be like us only by voluntary sharing our life. He existed before the creation. So John's pre-existence theology is very much sounded in the prologue of the Gospel according to St. John, considering the first chapter, the first 14 verses. They are very, very important to understand the pre-existence of Christ. In the beginning was the Word. The Word never became in the sense of coming into being. He simply was. It corresponds to the I am of John 8th chapter 58th verse. There was a controversy between Jesus Christ and the people of those days, particularly the Pharisees, the Sadducees, and other people, the scribes and all other people. There was a question at that time. Jesus Christ revealed, I am there even before Abraham was born. And immediately the onlookers, people who are standing by Jesus Christ, after all, you are not even 50 years old. You claim that you are even before Abraham. How come? And that in that connection, Jesus Christ reveals that He was there even before Abraham was born. That means the pre-existence of of Christ before the world was created. John always trying to link up with the book of Genesis, as I told you about the connections between the I am sayings. And sometimes even Jesus challenged His people, and then He replied that He has seen Abraham, because before Abraham was born, He used the Greek word genestai, I am. Before Abraham was, I am. It indicates that Jesus Christ is a figure, has no limits of age, and His open-endedness. He is there yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Even in the high priestly prayer recorded in the 17th chapter of the Gospel according to St. John, and Jesus Christ tells His Father, and now Father, glorify me in your presence with the glory I had with you before the world began. All these references indicate that Jesus Christ was present, and he was the pre-existence even before the world was began. And then the next thing is, then what is Jesus Christ? Who is Jesus Christ? We believe, and the Bible also tells us that in the incarnation of Jesus Christ, the infinite becomes the finite. The infinite becomes finite. That means the infinite becomes flesh. The Word was made flesh. The Word was made flesh. In other words, the infinite intelligence was responsible for the creation of the universe. The infinity in the person of Christ comes down to the finite world. The Creator comes to dwell among His creatures. That is the incarnation. I want to stress at this juncture one important aspect that are recorded in the Gospels, that Jesus Christ is perfect God and perfect man. Some people try to belittle the very person of God by saying, sharing 50% divine and 50% human. But the Gospels clearly tell us that Jesus Christ is perfect God and perfect man. The spiritual became material and the invisible God became visible man. I want to repeat it again. In the incarnation of Jesus Christ, the spiritual, the finite, became material, and the invisible God, that whom we cannot see with our naked eyes, He became a visible man. That is the summum bonum of the incarnation. In the humanity of Jesus Christ, the invisible and everlasting God is enfleshed. The Word taking the form of a flesh of a human being. That's why the Son of Man came to give His life a ransom for many. That you will find in the Gospel according to St. Matthew chapter 20 verse 28. Christ became man. It's only according to the salvific action of the Almighty, according to the plan of God's salvation. God became man incarnate to die for the sake of humanity, to redeem the world from the sin. The purpose of very incarnation, the purpose of Jesus coming into the world is only to die for us, to redeem the humankind from the sinful nature. And in the Bible, it is also mentioned, without shedding of a blood, there is no remission of sin. There is no salvation without remission the blood. A sinless man. At one point, Jesus Christ, with authority, addressing the audience, can anyone establish that I have committed sin? Nobody was there to challenge Jesus Christ that He was a sinner. Jesus Christ, sinless man, He came to this world to die for the humanity and to redeem the humanity and to redeem the humankind from the sinful nature. It's only the blood of Jesus Christ, His Son, cleanses us from all our sin. It's recorded in the first epistle of John, first chapter, 7th verse. At the same time, we also notice Jesus Christ is perfect man. He has human emotions. He loved people. He showed compassion on the people. Sometimes He was angry when He made His temple entry into Jerusalem, and He was angry with the people that people were misusing the God's place. They are making business right in the midst of the temple. That's why Jesus Christ was angry with the sellers. He was vehemently agitated. He didn't spare even the rulers, the religious leaders of those days to criticize them. And then he was also showing agony along with the people. When Lazarus, his dear friend, died, Jesus Christ wept. So, in all these